What's going on, everyone? So late last night, the Los Angeles Clippers officially traded for James Harden. Depending on where you are, if you're on the East Coast, it was technically early this morning. We got that Woj report. So the Clippers landed James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petras. And then the Sixers got Marcus Morris, Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, multiple draft picks, and pick swaps. This was a bit surprising, right? Because one, the Clippers landed James Harden. Secondly, they didn't have to give up Powell or Terrence Mann, which that was something that the Sixers were actively trying to acquire. Now, I think the Sixers just wanted to get off of James Harden. There were those reports that he was ready to go. He was going to play. They kind of looked at him, were like, hey, you're not coming with us. Go to the training facility. And I think personally the Sixers kind of wanted to see how do they look without James Harden. Like, are they going to be good enough and competitive enough without James Harden to where, like, okay, if we get a couple pieces, maybe we can make some noise here. It's kind of how I lean into it. But as far as the Clippers go and in this type of trade, I'm not super, like, nervous or worried about the Clippers. I think that, one, they traded all of their defensive wings, right? So, obviously, this is a Laker channel, so, you might be thinking, why are you talking about the Harden trade? Because this does impact the Lakers. Obviously, this is in the Western Conference. Obviously, the Clippers have beaten us, 11 times straight, right? And we play them tomorrow. So, of course, this happened right before the Lakers end up playing the Clippers. But one of the reasons the Clippers have had our number for the last, few years is because the Clippers were built very well to combat the Lakers. One, they had a ton of size out on the perimeter. Two, they had the bodies to throw at LeBron James and put size everywhere else. Well, now the Clippers basically got rid of all of that advantage that they had. Now, obviously, this year, the Lakers have more size out on the perimeter as well. So I do think this year, the Lakers, even before the Clippers trade, I did think that the Lakers had a very good chance of beating the Clippers. I actually think that they were going to beat the Clippers tomorrow. I still think they will, because it'll be kind of interesting. Does James Harden play? Does he not? I think it just depends on how fast everything gets done. But I do think that this hurts the Clippers in a multitude of ways, right? For starters, I think that, one, they lost a lot of depth. I think PJ Tucker helps to an extent, but he's not the guy he once was. He does, though, bring a level of toughness and some defense, but even defensively, he's not the defender that he once was. But also, if Paul George and Kawhi miss any significant amount of time, they don't have the perimeter guys to basically fill in, right? It was like if Paul George misses, it's like, well, okay, we got Batum, we got Covington, we got Morris. Well, now you don't have those guys. Kawhi Leonard misses. You don't have those guys. If both of them miss, you're in trouble. And so I do think James Harden helps the Clippers during the regular season, because if one of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard do end up missing, then, you got James Harden to kind of help burden that load, right? And then also his playmaking, I think, will be huge. But in the playoffs, I don't think it makes them any better. One, can Paul George and Kawhi Leonard even play in the playoffs? Because they're injured every year. And even if they can, is James Harden going to show up? Now, you can make the argument that James Harden now would be like the third option. So maybe that takes pressure off of James Harden, and also the need for him to be great in the playoffs kind of gets mitigated because now he's the third guy. But even then, is James Harden going to be okay with being the third guy? Now, many of you might be thinking, well, he was in Brooklyn, but he wasn't, right? So James Harden got to play the point guard. He got to be the guy that was constantly on the ball. Kevin Durant is so good off the ball and so efficient, he doesn't need 30 shots to go get you 30 points. And then Kyrie, he even said, he's the point guard, I'm the shooting guard. So they played off of James Harden, Kawhi Leonard is a black hole. We all know that, right? As soon as he gets the ball, that's it. Ball stops, right? Paul George is a little more willing to share the ball and give it up, but is James Harden going to be okay basically being third fiddle? I don't know. Time will tell. Is that going to work? What are they going to do with Russell Westbrook? He never liked the idea of coming off the bench to begin with. He does it for the Lakers. Then he leaves the Lakers to go to the Clippers to be the starter. And now he's what? He's going to go back to the bench? Does that become a problem? Also, is James Harden, is he even in shape to play? The report said that the Sixers sent James Harden home because they wanted him to get in a game shape. They wanted him to get ready as fast as possible. Now, that could have just been them saying something in order to, trade James Harden and not have to have him travel and make things awkward. Could be. But I like the matchup with the Lakers a lot more now. A lot more. Because now the Clippers don't have as much size. And they don't match up as well as they once did. Now, they do have a little more firepower, but defensively they're going to take a step back. And I also think that there's going to be this sort of learning curve. There's going to be this awkward stage. Now, scoring-wise, again, they're going to be great scoring the basketball because they still have Norman Powell. They still have Highland, right? You got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. You got James Harden, obviously. And then, they still got like centers. They still got Mason Plumlee. They still got Ivica Zubac. But outside of that, it's like, who defends? I mean, you got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard who are still great on the ball defensive guys. And PJ Tucker can still kind of hold his own a little bit. But, how do you manage that rotation? And how do you defend in the backcourt? Because James Harden can't defend his shadow, right? Russell Westbrook, he's been a lot better defending lately, but he's probably coming off the bench, like I said. My guess is their starting unit, they might try to go with Russell Westbrook to start just to kind of see, but I think inevitably it'll probably be something along the lines of like, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, PJ Tucker, and Ivica Zubac, right? That's probably how I think their starting five will be at some point, if not immediately. And yes, you can kind of manage that, but I don't know, like outside of that, like, yeah, you have Terrence Mann still off the bench and Norman Powell, right? But I just, again, I'm not sold on the matchup. I think that the Lakers have enough firepower to keep up when they're hitting shots. Obviously, right now, it doesn't look like it. Right now, they're struggling, but D'Angelo Russell just picked it up offensively, and hopefully that's kind of the beginning of him turning over a new leaf. And if that happens, then that'll be huge. And we have the shooting once we actually start knocking shots. I think we have the offensive firepower, but now I think we're the team with the size. And I think that we're the team that has the defense to match up against the Clippers. And we have the depth, right? Again, look, every year, the last 10 years, it's been the Clippers year, right? Every year, people, Clippers are going to do that, Clippers are going to do that. And every year, they're a second round exit. Every year, right? And then on top of that, it's just, every day you're like, okay, is James Harden going to be happy? It's just you're walking on eggshells. Like, how does the locker room go? Like, I'm not sold on the Clippers. I mean, they've had a championship caliber team, again, for like the last 10 years. You had Lob City, and at times they were the best team in the league. Just couldn't get over the hump, right? Blowing 3-1 leads, all of that stuff. Then you go from Lob City into pretty much immediately into Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and you make one conference finals, and it's like every year you've been scratching and clawing for, just to get into the playoffs, or you're a play-in team because your two stars can't stay healthy. That doesn't change. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I don't see staying healthy. James Harden has had issues health-wise. And then he just completely disappears in the playoffs. So if Kawhi Leonard and Paul George can't be healthy and they end up not being available for the playoffs, Russell Westbrook and James Harden with a bunch of, bench guys are not going to be enough to beat any of the good teams. You're just not. And especially when you can't rely on James Harden in the playoffs. So I personally like the matchup so much more. I do. I genuinely do. I think that this puts the Lakers in a much better position if they were to face the Clippers, say in the playoffs or anything like that. I think the Lakers have a real opportunity to beat the Clippers in a rather reasonable fashion. Now, there is always the sort of loom effect of like, sometimes a team just has your number regardless, right? Like you see it all the time in all sports. I mean, like look at the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's like no matter how good the Eagles are, they always seem to struggle and either lose or almost lose to the Commanders, right? Or the Redskins, depending on where you are or how, much of a fan you are. And it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes it's just the case, right? Like, so it is possible that the Clippers just, for whatever reason, have the Lakers' number. It happens. But I think personally that the reason it looked like, or the reason that they've had our number the last few years is because the Lakers didn't have the size to match up against the Clippers. And the Clippers had the bodies to throw at LeBron James constantly. And try to wear him down, and especially in his later years, right? So now that you remove that from the equation, I don't know how you necessarily beat the Lakers. Now they do have the offensive firepower, as I said, so there is always the possibility that they just get hot and they just, are too hot for us to beat on any given night. That could be a real possibility, but I think if we were to match up in the playoffs, I think the Lakers win that series now, like no doubt. Like, no doubt. Where if we were to meet up in the playoffs prior to the Harden trade, I would have been a little worried. But now I think you just got rid of all of the things that gave you the, not necessarily edge anymore, but like the confidence going up against the Lakers. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think this makes them better? Do you think this makes them worse? Do you think this kind of just keeps them in the middle? Whatever. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notifications. Stay up to date with all things Lakers. See you all in the next one. Thank you.